Was there ever a time when you weren't able to make a meal or put food on the table? Was there ever hunger?
Every day.
What do you remember of that time?
All of it. Asking for food is not easy. One such friend's elder brother knew I hadn't paid my rent in 4 months or something. So he offered me a job of an assistant director on a documentary film. I said, okay, but I don't know what to do there. But the first day of the shooting, I knew this is what I want to do. It's in poetry that you can hold on to integrity easily. The world is not conducive to integrity. You know, people have to live, people have to run their families, people have to pay their EMIs.
Did you feel at that point you were being targeted specifically for a reason?
That's a soft refuge. Even if it is true. You know, any piece of art is expected to evoke socio-political response. It should not surprise you. Any piece of art is a reaction to your society, to your world, or an observation. Patriotism is not a song that you can sing. Patriotism is a job.
Yeah. It's a never-ending job. You can never stop.
It's a never-ending job. It will never get perfect.
Do you hear that a lot? That, these women-centric films will not do well?
Of course.
What's your response to that?
It's foul language, the response. These are myths created by people who can't find better answers.
I remember when that film came out, it was Shah Rukh Khan, it was Kareena Kapoor, she looked like $1 billion. It was like this, it was this huge, massive thing. What was that like?
I was absolutely flabbergasted. And then it didn't turn out as well as I wanted it to. I carried in my heart and chest and shoulders for until 2018 when Mulk released. I had almost given up on myself as a director. I had decided I won't direct.
Anubhav Sinha, it has been more than 5 years.
No, the last was Mulk, no? So that is in 2018.
Yeah, more than
7 years. Wow.
It has been a while. And I've been meaning to have this conversation with you for so long because the work, Mulk was amazing. The work you've done after that has been extraordinary. But also the Anubhav Sinha from before Mulk and before Bollywood and before Bombay. I want to talk about all of that.
You have the time.
I have all the time. Welcome to the internet. I have all the time. This is not television anymore. You grew up in Benaras?
Yeah. I was born in 1965. First 9 years were in a place called Kalagarh, which is now in Uttarakhand, near Jim Corbett Park, near Moradabad, let's say. Then we moved to Allahabad for a year, and then we go to Benaras. And that is the city that shaped me. I don't know if you've been to Benaras, but if you go to Benaras, something happens. There's something in the air. I went to a government college. And then one day I saw a notification on the notice board inviting applications for the joint entrance exam to the IITs. So I went and asked my father. So he said, yeah, you should apply for it. And this is for an admission to an engineering college. So I said, so I'll become an engineer. And he said, unless you want to become a doctor. And I said, no, I don't want to become a doctor. Because there's blood involved. And then I was not a great student. I wasn't bad, but I wasn't a great student. So I didn't get through to many engineering colleges that were of bigger repute. And I got an admission in an engineering college in AMU, which in hindsight today is serendipitous. Because when I land up there, when I get selected there and it's decided that I'm going there, and those are days when I don't know if many of our viewers may not relate to this, but there used to be like annual communal rides in Uttar Pradesh. Moradabad, Meerut, Aligarh, sometimes Benaras. So, the family and the extended family was a little worried that I was going to Aligarh. And it felt like I was going to Pakistan. And then I went there. because I had to be an engineer for a trivial reason. And that city opened up a new perspective of my own country for me.
How so?
So when you were living in Benaras, you heard of the riots from the point of view of your own community. And then you went into that community, majority community, especially in the university. The whole city is not as Muslim as it sounds, but the university was more so at the time. And then I met a lot of Muslim people, friends. This is 82. And at least 100 of us talk to each other once a week from the time. So it's 43 years. So I made those wonderful friends. And I got to know more about my country. That experience of those 6 years opens up my eyes to India. That became a very good learning curve. And then I became an engineer. Then I went to Delhi. I did very well with the interviews, of job interviews. But I was very certain I didn't want to be in a government job. In the pre-final year of the engineering, the campus interviews, the Indian Air Force comes there, and I go for the SSB, and then I'm selected, and then I go to the group discussion, and I'm selected. And then there was this opportunity to join the Air Force, but ground staff. This was a short service commission of, I don't know, 7 years or 11 years, I forget now. One of the bigger reasons that I remember that I was not in favor of going there was that I knew where will I be at the end of this commission. And I probably wanted an open road. So I went to Delhi and I took one job in a private company in Faridabad. I worked there for 3 or 4 months. Then I thought, no, I don't like it. So I thought maybe I should do a touring job. I'll get to see the country. So I joined another company. And in 3 months, I was bored again. So I quit that too, without knowing why. And then 1 year, I didn't tell my parents back home in Benaras that I had quit the job. And I just tried to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And that's probably one of the toughest times as far as a daily life goes, because there was no money. But it's the most enriching time as well. Sometimes, or more often than not, the tough times are the most enriching times, is what I have, and I have been through many in life.
Was there ever a time when you weren't able to make a meal or put food on the table? Was there ever hunger?
Every day.
What do you remember of that time?
All of it. Asking for food is not easy. Asking for money to buy a pair of shoes is easier than asking money for food. It goes below your dignity. The amount is much lesser.
So this idea now, that a lot of young people have, where you do your 9 to 5 so that it gives you the money to be able to realize your dreams. You didn't buy that.
According to me, that doesn't work.
Why not?
All in.
All in or nothing.
All in or nothing. Because, most of your excellence, most of your success, which we can talk about later, comes out of lack of choices. The maximum courage comes out of lack of choices. I always say courage is nothing but lack of a choice. Jumping 11 foot away, if there is no choice, you'll jump.
So you take away all the comfort and the options. And how did you make the leap from there into filmmaking?
Nothing. So I had no food. Then, friends knew, their brothers knew, and their sisters knew. So sometimes you had accesses that, when you're very hungry, you would call up one friend's wife and say, I'm coming. and they would know why. So you would go there and they would feed you well. And so yeah, those are relationships. And then one such friend's elder brother knew I hadn't paid my rent in 4 months or something. So he offered me a job of an assistant director on a documentary film.
In Delhi.
Yeah. So I said, okay, but I don't know what to do there. So he said, no, I'll teach you. He basically wanted a runner. But the first day of the shooting, I knew this is what I want to do. So that got over and I started to leave from Delhi. I went to Benaras first. I told my father. And who now in hindsight was such a brave man. I said, he was retiring in 2 years or something. I said, I'm going to Bombay. I want to become a filmmaker. So he said, okay, do what you want. But I can't support you. I'm retiring. So I said, okay, no problem. Mother sulked for the night. Next morning, she was fine too. And then I came here. And Bombay has been very kind to me. Very kind. I am indebted to the city.
So from the streets of Benaras to working with Shah Rukh Khan and releasing the biggest film of that, that's quite a journey. So where does one start from when you arrive in the city saying, I'm going to be a filmmaker?
I started looking for the work of an assistant director. I worked with Pankaj Parashar for 3 years. Then he was directing a show that was ending. And last 3 episodes were balanced. So he hired some other director to do those 3 episodes. And then all the actors revolted. They said, but why don't you give it to Anubhav? This is Sushmita Mukherjee, Rajesh Puri. Why don't you give it to Anubhav? He does everything. So he looked at me, he said, this guy? And I was like, dove-eyed, yes. And he said, okay, next 2 you do. So I finished those 2 episodes. And then I went to my boss and I said, now I'm going. Because I think it's time for me to be out there. And he said, look, I made a mistake. I gave you an opportunity and I lose an assistant. So then I went out and I did some stuff for ZZ, had just started. We're talking about 93. Yeah, then it's been a great ride. Good fun. And I'm not saying great ride when I say I'm very happy with all the failures. I'm indebted to all the failures. More indebted to my failures than to my success.
I was going to ask you that because this show is about failure. We talk a lot about failure, which is unusual in this day and age. We always learn more from our failure than we do from our successes.
That is if we do. Sometimes we don't.
Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we are fated to repeat our failures or mistakes, you think?
Yeah, sometimes we treat failure as if we didn't deserve it. It just, you have to accept that you deserved it. Only then will you learn from it.
Stop making excuses, you feel?
Yeah, excuses, and then you reject the time, you reject an individual, you reject whatever. You disown it. You should embrace your failures.
Tell me how. How do you embrace a failure?
It's yours. Go back and see what happened. What went wrong. You never question the timing of a success. You always question the timing of a failure. Maybe that film of yours was a hit because it was released at the right time. Maybe it was not as good a film. You never question that. So you should not question, because those kind of circumstances exist throughout your life.
Yeah.
During your success as well. But this one you have to go back and see what happened, and then if you're honest to yourself, you will learn a lot from your failures.
एक इंटरव्यू में आपने बोला था कि फेलियर में रिश्ते बिखर जाते. And it's happened to me. I know that when something goes wrong, you tend to avoid the people who were with you when that happened. How do you, as an individual, move past it, reach out to people who are with you in a failure and say, maintain that relationship so you don't lose the people?
I made a film called Anek,
Yes.
and I thought I got indulgent with it
Hmm.
in terms of my politics. And the day I accepted it, that it has failed, which is like 3 days of the release, I sent out a message to every member of the team, thanking them and apologizing to them. Because, it's a director's vision that the whole team follows. And it remains I think it's a good film. I think it's a very good film. It's just that it got too politically indulgent. It was probably the work of a journalist and not a filmmaker that I was doing in the film. So yes, I hold very dear and close to me. I'm very proud of the film. But like I said, they should be at the table with you, not just your trophies. And they're extremely, extremely useful.
How does one come back from a personal failure? When you feel you've let someone down, you didn't stand up for someone, then there are two people in that moment. How do you come back from that?
I think the bravest thing to do in life is to say sorry. I keep telling my son this. It's the bravest thing to do.
After Ra.One, there was obviously a gear change in the kind of films that you were making. And I remember you and I met briefly at an event in Delhi. And we spoke for a little while and you said, I'm very angry, but I'll say what I need to say through my films. I won't talk anywhere else. My films will do my talking. I'm writing right now. What was happening then? What were you thinking? What was making you so angry? Do you remember?
India probably is the most wonderful country in the world. That's my conclusion. The world has no idea the amount of diversity that happily coexists here.
Yeah.
Every 100 kilometers is a change in recipe and dialect. It's an impossible country. And I don't know who coined it. I don't even remember which government or what, because these days everything is seen in that light. Incredible India is actually, I don't know who wrote this line, is what it is. And, once you walk into a very clean and very well-kept house, room, and you see there is some little dust there, you get very upset because it shows more.
Yeah.
And you say, yaar, ye dhool kisne lagaya, usko saaf karo. And then you get down to it and you start cleaning it. That's the anger I was talking about. It's a beautiful room, but you know what? Why is no one looking after this handle? And why is no one looking after that table? And that's what you do. If you
love the room.
If you love someone, you tell them, "Nee, tere upar blue अच्छा नहीं लगता. Blue मत पहना कर." That's what it is about. No, love is about telling you your weaknesses, strengths you have that the world will see.
So my response when people say that when you ask questions, you are you're not patriotic, you're embarrassing the country. Whereas I believe that if this is truly your home, you will be worried when the roof is leaking and you will say, hey, that roof is leaking, we need to fix it. But if all of us sit around and we don't point out that the roof is leaking, it'll eventually collapse on our heads. And if you really love this home, then we have to fix the leaks.
Yeah.
Is that the same feeling for you?
Yes. You can turn a chair around. Patriotism is not a song that you can sing. Patriotism is a job.
Yeah. It's a never-ending job. You can
It's
never
a
stop.
never-ending job. It'll never get perfect.
Yeah.
Nothing is perfect.
Are you still angry?
Very.
And is that what these films are about? Mulk, Bead, Anek, Article? Is it root to tell those stories that, and I will accept, you said it's important to say sorry, that the journalists are not telling. The media is not doing its job.
Who?
The stories that you tell in your films are stories that should be told by journalists.
By who?
Point taken.
Yeah, we should all do it together. It's our country. We should all do it together. I truly believe this is a most incredible large piece of land, large parcel of land where the most incredible people live.
If I were to ask you to, for a second, take yourself back to Benaras of 76 to 82, texturally, what do you remember about it?
Everything crystal clear. I still live there.
You still have a home there?
No. A 16-year-old Anubhav Sinha still lives there. And I talked to him.
What was it like?
The whole city was like a family. It had a character. We spoke the same language. We liked the same jalebi and kachori sabzi for breakfast. All carbs though, and sugar. But it has become a bigger city now. But if I was to I keep taking my personal report card from myself at 16 in Benaras. And I have decent marks from him. I'm not like 85%, but yeah. But Benaras is it's difficult to tell you, to articulate what a Banarsi feels for Benaras. It's like you cannot describe what you feel for your mother.
Yeah.
That city is like that. You just love it. And it's very difficult to describe love. Maybe someone else can look at the reasons and tell you what it is, but it's difficult for you to know why you love a city. So that is my company is called Benaras Media Works. So I feel great when anybody who's not from Benaras tells me, "To Benaras mein mile?" So they're saying कि मेरे office आ रहे हैं.
Yeah.
But every time they call Benaras, I feel very happy. Though it's not his official name, but it's a term of endearment, Benaras. And the walk to the school and those endless hours of cycling from one friend's house to the other, then lying at home, going to watch films, and going to the Ganges, and every Saturday night with my mother to Hanumanji Ka Mandir. And I would, in the summers, you would sleep on the terrace. And I used to live very close to a very famous temple there. And I was 13, 14, 15. And that temple would play MS Subbalakshmi at 4:30 in the morning. And you would wake up to MS Subbalakshmi.
Yes.
Can you believe it?
Suprabhat.
So I still play it in my house every morning.
Yeah. Your last project, IC814, we exchanged a couple of text messages at that point when it was in the news. There was a lot of controversy around it. And you said, I don't want to talk right now. I just, I'm not talking to anybody. How do you feel about it now?
Love it. So much love. So much data that Netflix gave me about its success, which half of it was incomprehensible to me. But they looked very happy. And so much love, so many phone calls, so many text messages, such great reviews.
You put in a lot of research
Yes.
into that script. How many months, how many years were you researching that script?
Actually, before I took on the project, I hate that word, so I stammered there. Because before I took on the film, they had done a lot of work, Netflix and Trishant. And then after I joined in, we hired Adrian Levy, who lives in London, and who came with another new, he opened up the world perspective to us on that. And thankfully, he's a man of research and data, and he remembers it all. So a lot came to me in a package, and I had to read a lot. But there's a lot of stuff. I was suddenly finding myself reading some declassified CIA files and declassified files from the UK and wherever. So there's a lot of reading that went behind it. It was not a frivolous piece of frivolous assortments put together.
There were 2 points of criticism of that.
Just two.
2 main points of criticism. One was the code names that the hijackers, the terrorists, were using to speak to each other. And the criticism was, why have they been given Hindu names? The second criticism was, is this a PR job for the ISI by making it seem like Osama Bin Laden was behind it? Are you absolving Pakistan of its culpability? What was your response to? You didn't speak at that time. What is your response to these two things?
You've seen the show.
I have.
You agree with this critique?
I don't. What is your response?
Why should I respond to something which, see, if you've seen it and you agree with this critique, I can talk to you. How can I talk to a ghost who's not in the room? The name Bhola and Shankar is used probably once or maximum twice in the entire series in the 4th episode, the first time in the 4th episode. By then we know exactly who these people are. There's nothing to, and this was a fact. That's what they called each other. Also, when you're working on a subject matter which has some contentious points, most people don't realize this. You write the script for over a year or 2 or more. Then it goes into pre-production for 3 months, 5 months. Then it shoots, then it edits, then it goes into post-production. During this entire period, no less than 200 to 300 people read your material. And if there is anything contentious, some people flag it. Somebody flags it because, like I said, so we are such a diverse country.
Yeah.
So when 300 people get together, there are people from everywhere. Yeah. All political belief systems and social backgrounds. And then you listen to it and you said, what? Oh, okay. No, it's not like that. Then someone else also says it. Then 3 people say it. And then you see there is a resonance to that critique. And then you address it if you want to. In this case, that never happened. We worked on it for 2 years.
And nobody red flagged?
No, nobody.
Not even
ever.
the Netflix legal team?
Nobody. Yeah, in this case, there's legal vetting also going on, looking at the episode, reading the episodes. Never came up. So, it didn't feel like, when it came up as a surprise. Unfortunately, a bit late. And whatever could have been done was done.
Did you feel at that point you were being targeted specifically for a reason?
That's a soft refuge. Even if it is true. Like I said, I would rather embrace it. Because, I cannot respond to invisible people. So there is something, and I'm sure a good percentage was not targeting. And no, I don't look at it like that. Not anymore. I've decided, and even if it was targeting, I would react differently from, let's say, 2 years back.
On the point of Osama being involved in the hijacking of IC-14, did you feel it necessary, or on one, what part of your research threw that up, and did you feel it necessary to include it in the script? Could there have been an option to just leave it out?
No, it's like you're making a film based on an actual event. Then you start researching, and then you come across material which is credible. And I wouldn't see a reason why one should. What are the choices? Why should you include or not? Who's making those choices? So it's a whole team of writers and everybody that sit down, and there were more things that we got to know, and they were not important to all. It's quite collective in terms of which part of the story are we telling. There was more than the hijack. No, there was pre-hijack. I'm sure there's post-hijack. There's so much happened, but this is the story you're telling, and whatever feels important at the time, you include it.
There was some who said this was almost seditious.
Who?
There was a newspaper article, I think, written by Veer Sanghvi. There were some other journalists who picked up from that. What was your response to that?
I mean, that's his view, that's his understanding. I don't know what to say to that. Anybody can say anything. Today, everybody has a voice. And Veer was a senior journalist until some time. And if he has a view, he has a view.
Did that take a toll on you personally?
No, thankfully, this is not the first time something like this was happening to a film of mine. Two is that the best rescue at the time is the reviews. Glowing reviews. 10 on 10. Not a single mediocre review that I can think of. And then you're so busy all day because somebody has just finished watching it and he didn't want to send you a message. He wanted to speak to you. So there are endless phone calls. And my chutti was due. So in about 10 days after it released, I was out. I was doing my chutti, enjoying the success. Still receiving messages, still receiving phone calls. Any piece of art is expected to evoke socio-political response. And it should not surprise you. Any piece of art is a reaction to your society, to your world, or an observation. And once you do that, we are a world of 8 billion people. You can't have them all sit at the same table with you and agree with you. There will be a sizable percentage that will disagree with you, and you should be gracious enough to respect that disagreement. The fact that there was enough at the table to agree or disagree with is already a reward.
I've spoken to a few people in film today who tell me that they sit down with the team with a story and cut out anything that is possibly contentious to a point where there's hardly anything left on the table. So everybody has to do like family-led dramas. There's no hook at all that can get into controversy. What is your response to that art? Does it remain art at all when you have to do that? When you have to self-censor and chill because you don't want controversy?
See, art is a very personal choice. So if somebody thinks this coaster is an art, it must be an art for him. Even I find it quite interesting, actually. And everybody will have a different method to make his or her art. Actually, I've started believing that, we should stop saying his or her, because we've said his for a long time. Let's say her for 2-3 centuries.
Yeah.
And just let people understand it's also his. So everybody has a choice to bake her art in the manner she wants. And mine is this that you see. Yours would be different and someone else's would be different. And to each his own. And the rest is like history, posterity.
Your response to the suits now, because now there is quali-research commanding scripts saying, आजकल ये चल रहा है, ये चल रहा है, ये चल रहा है. So this is the kind of trend that's happening. If you make it like this, and at every point on the TC, here there needs to be a amp up of your script. Here there needs to be an amp up of your script. What's your response to that?
That's good information. And it's not baseless or pointless.
Okay.
But depends on what you want to do with it. And that's not the only truth. That's not the only method. But it's always good to have that information. I ask for it.
You
I
do?
seek it.
Okay.
I seek it from credible sources. Give me the material. What does your algorithm say? Because also you must realize, I always say algorithm is a cage. So let's say I start listening to Faye's songs. So algorithm is also quite dumb. The algorithm will assume that I only like this kind of music. But the algorithm doesn't know I like Begum Akhtar also. And I also like Miles Davis. I also like Linkin Park.
And on a different day or in a different mood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Algorithm doesn't have the capacity to fully encompass human mind. It's a cage. So I mess with algorithm at times. Sometimes I just fool algorithm. I see the wrong clips. And then it starts sending me the same clips and I laugh. So that's me making fun of the algorithm.
If I were to ask you to look into the future a little bit with AI built in, what is the film environment for you? What does that look like?
No, a lot of things that the AI does is extremely helpful. Extremely helpful. You know, every time you have a very sophisticated tool on hand at your service, the bigger trouble is to learn how to use it and how far to use it. You know, it's you give me a tool and I start applying it on everything. It was not meant to. So AI can be very useful. It is already being very useful in a whole lot of things. I think especially in medicine, it's going to be huge. But in art, one is that, you know, artists are also they're very possessive about their integrity. And a lot of artists, they wouldn't want to, even at the risk of not being great, they would want it to be theirs.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm not Michelangelo,
But at least this is mine.
but this is mine.
I've not cheated.
I have not cheated. I have not sought any help from anybody. I chose the pink. I chose the yellow. I chose the green. I thought this ratio was perfect. AI told me it wasn't, and I should probably have listened, but it wouldn't be mine. This is mine.
I feel like the world that we're living in now is beginning to value wealth above all else, above the environment, above human rights, above integrity, above art, above individualism. It's just about how fast you can make something, how much money you can make, and what your net worth is. How many billions, how many billions. Nothing is enough. No level of wealth is enough. The millionaires want to become billionaires and the billionaires want to become trillionaires. And it's an endless, exhausting, breathless race.
So both are true.
I feel like integrity is getting lost. And it's not a...
No. Both are true. There's a whole lot of people out there. Like this friend lives in Los Angeles, and when this fire broke out, I suddenly remembered she was supposed to travel to Ladakh. So I messaged her. I said, I hope you're in Ladakh. She said, no, I cancelled. I said, whoa, get out of there. She said, Anubhav, there is no one to look after the pets. No, she's not talking about people whose houses are lost or homeless. She's worried about pets. So there are those people also that exist in this world. I think it's sometimes you get disoriented and don't get so disappointed with the world. Of course, there are a lot of loud, visible morons, but there is a whole lot of nice people out there in this world. They're trying to fight back, trying to correct it. People are tirelessly doing a million kinds of things to make this world a better place. And I'm saying all this despite Gaza.
Do you read a lot about Gaza and do you take it in? Or I know a lot of people who find it traumatic and say, I can't absorb this anymore. It's too much for me. How do you mentally absorb information like that without it messing with you?
It does. I feel complicit. I didn't do anything about it. Speaking of myself.
Yeah.
Besides feeling bad, I didn't do anything about it. I don't know what I could have done. And, It's, if nothing, if you strip off the conflict of all its history and whatever, 30,000 children were killed over a period of 1 year with bombs. Now that's frightening.
Yeah.
But even then, I've seen and sort of participated in demonstrations in London, in New York, in Portugal, and people were out there in thousands. But it was beyond them.
Yeah.
So, like I was rejecting your earlier disappointment with the world, integrity it's in poetry that you can hold on to integrity easily. The world is not conducive to integrity. People have to live, people have to run their families, people have to pay their EMIs. And integrity at its 100% is very difficult. People are lucky who can hold on to their integrity and sleep with it. It's not easy. It's a difficult world. But the good news is that Faye and Anubhav are talking about it. It's not become irrelevant. There are 200 million people in this world are concerned and they are working on it, and they're writing books and pieces, and they're going out there and distributing food and clothes, and they're working for pets when there is fire in Los Angeles. So there's hope. Don't get so disappointed.
Do we make enough room for the poets and the writers and the thinkers, you feel, in this environment of 30-second attention spans, capitalism? Are we celebrating our art enough?
We should celebrate our art more.
Oh.
And enough is not, you can't quantify it. But no, we are writing and reading less poetry. I'm talking about my own world, largely my own country. We should go watch more plays. We should have more musical concerts. We should have more dance concerts. We should read more.
Yeah.
And we're reading way less than we should. And all that needs to be done.
Do you feel that with filmmaking right now, there are enough people going to the theaters and actually watching films, or is everybody just waiting for it to come out on OTT? Because I remember having a conversation with Guneet Monga and with Karan Johar, and they said that now the real thing is to get people to come back to the theaters after COVID. Where's the challenge, if you see a challenge at all?
Film.
The quality of the film, you mean?
They come every now and then. It defies all logic. End of the month, beginning of the month, middle of the month. Whenever they like a film, they come see it. So I don't think there is a
formula,
logistical challenge. There's a challenge about them liking it. And of course, there is a sizable percentage of the audience that thinks कि वो OTT पे आके तो देख लेंगे. But there's still a sizable percentage that says कि नहीं यार चलो theater. For them, see, watching a film at home, in the comforts of your home, and watching a film in the theater are two different things. Entirely different things. There is community watching.
Yes.
And there's a family watching or solo watching.
Yeah.
These are two different things.
Experiences completely, yeah.
And you don't subscribe just to the film. You actually subscribe to the experience and you choose a film for that experience.
So the argument that the cinemas are charging too much, and the popcorn is too expensive, the parking is too expensive, or the top movie stars are asking for too much, and they're throwing the economics of it out of the window. What part of that do you agree with?
All of it.
All of it.
The real estate is too expensive. The tickets are too expensive. The samosa is very expensive. Because, when the audience goes to a theater, all of it, his ROI on the film includes the samosa.
Yes.
You can't tell him don't have the samosa. He'll say, why? I'm going to watch a film. I want that experience, community experience, coming out in the interval, looking at other people and having a samosa and some popcorn. So that's on me. The film has to be good enough to deliver all of that. So it's not a really very casual decision to go out and watch a film with the family.
Yes.
You have to think harder because it's expensive. But yeah, it's an expensive medium. But unfortunately, the peripherals of the making of film have become exorbitantly and prohibitively expensive.
Karan Johar was on this show and he said that, there are now big actors charging the equivalent of the entire budget of the film. And it's simply not tenable anymore. And he said, every time that happens, I just go work with a younger actor because I can't afford them.
Yeah. But again, these are personal choices. Some producer might want to give that money to that actor, some might not. But Karan is actually, amongst us, he's one of the more able people to be able to afford it. And I'm sure on certain occasions, against his wishes, he has done so. But he's right. There is worldwide, when you make movies, there's a percentage of the budget that goes to music, to actors, to locations. There's a unsaid formula to it. And I don't know about the southern industries much. That Kashyap is a better one to know. But in Bombay, that percentage is absolutely disproportionate. Sometimes goes up to 50% of the cost of the film. 50, sometimes more.
Do you see the trend now more towards films that mirror realistic life, like the ones that you've been doing, or the ones with sort of suspended reality that we see coming out of the South, which we now see a lot of Hindi films also going in that category, where it's almost unbelievable what we're seeing on screen. And those are the ones that are bringing in the big bucks. To really like the macho fight scenes and the flying through the air and stuff like that.
It's a very long discussion. But yes, more closer to life films can and should be made. That's the reason why Bhaskar, Basu Bhattacharya, Rishikesh Mukherjee, Amol Palekar's films. Amol Palekar was that hero that every boy in any city could be. That hero somehow doesn't exist anymore. A lot of South films are way more appealing is because their heroes are from ground zero. They are from the village, from a small town. So anybody and everybody relates to him. See, the idea of the androgynous hero came out with the liberalization in economy when the multinationals came in, and there was this boy from Delhi who had just come in, was quite androgynous.
Rahul. His name was always Rahul.
Yeah, Rahul. That took the hero to upper middle class and upper class. Otherwise, there used to be Sanjay Dutt and Ajay Devgan and Anil Kapoor and Tezab and whatnot. We don't make those films anymore. So, if the hero is rooted in the middle class and the lower middle class, and then he can go and become Pushpa.
Yeah.
But he comes from there. That South does wonderfully. And all the 4 languages, they do it wonderfully. And that's why their heroes are cutting across the regional
regional boundaries, yeah. And even though those heroes are very specific to the culture they're coming from, people are still...
But, it's very different from what it is in Patna. There, cultural milieu
Yeah.
is very different from Patna milieu.
Yeah.
But at least it is parallel to his.
Yes.
So that's the reason why Allu Arjun goes to Patna to promote his film. And that's why it does thousands of crores. Because the cultural milieus have a umbilical cord to class. And that connects them.
I do want to ask you this though. When you had made Thappad, there was a lot of criticism about it almost promoting separation and divorce. Only on that much. That doesn't make any sense. And I know that a lot of women saw it and identified very strongly. If you consider the films that we're talking about now, where women are shown in a very different light, and that I know is a separate conversation altogether. But do you hear that a lot, that, these women-centric films will not do well?
Of course.
What's your response to that?
It's foul language, the response. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of course they will happen. Have you heard of Jai Santoshi Mark? You know how much it made? No. These are myths created by people who can't find better answers. 50% of this country is women. Yes or no? So you're saying if you make a film about them, the other 50% won't come, or they themselves won't come? What are we trying to say?
I think the argument is that when a family in India goes to watch a film, it's normally the man who decides which film they're going to watch.
Yeah.
So the macho films will do better.
No, that's never a family thing. It's yes, I agree. I don't buy it, but I agree that female-centric films have a lesser chance of a big success at the box office. But they have a fair chance of success at the box office.
Mm.
The big success, like 300 crores and 500 crores and now 900 crores, that I don't know. There's no precedence to prove that. But, the other films can and have done well at the box office a whole lot of times. Sri Devi's English to English, without all the Sri Deviness in it, did 100 crores.
Well, I waited this polite amount of time now to talk about Shah Rukh Khan. Because who doesn't love Shah Rukh Khan, especially girls from the 90s? What is he like in person? What was that film like on sets, in person, the time spent with him?
I was in a candy store, Benaras boy in a candy store.
Yeah.
Imagine, when that Benaras boy was sitting in Shah Rukh Khan's house and Shah Rukh Khan was asking him what will you eat and not. So that, and then, whatever, the whole process, which went on for like 6 years. Great fun, great guy. I find him to be the most. It is so strange, and I keep telling him that he continues to be a middle class boy at heart. He's so middle class, it's not funny. I find so.
In what way?
In his choices, See, middle class is not only about money. Middle class is about, can I have it? Not because of money. Can I touch it? I think he's quite middle class. The last time I met him, I told him that. And he agreed. He has all the money in the world.
Yeah.
But what makes you happy is your middle class. Does the Gucci make you happy, or the fact that your sister is happy makes you happy? What makes you happier? I think middle class, when the sister is happy, you're happier than buying a Gucci t-shirt. So those kind of things, the way he looks after his sister and his kids, and it's quite middle class. And that's a discovery, and that's an achievement. It's difficult to be a guy that universally popular, and let's not even talk about the money. To be rooted and grounded is quite phenomenal. He's a phenomenal guy. While I was making the film, I kept saying this, more than getting to make this film, it's a privilege to know you. Just knowing you.
I remember when that film came out, it was Shah Rukh Khan, it was Kareena Kapoor, she looked like $1 billion. It was like this, it was this huge, massive thing. What was that like? That boy from Benaras waiting for the release of this 6-year project?
I was absolutely flabbergasted. We were traveling against time. So tonight, premiere in Dubai. And then we travel back on the same date. We have a premiere in London, then Toronto, then LA. We're traveling back in time. And 4 premieres, 4 nights. Massive. And then it didn't turn out as well as I wanted it to. All of us wanted it to. Heartbreak. And which I carried in my heart and chest and shoulders for until 2018 when Mulk released. I had almost given up on myself as a director. I had decided I won't direct.
And then how did you decide to direct?
One story got into my head and wouldn't let me sleep. Became Mulk. There was not a single valid or intelligent reason to make that film. Pure heart.
And then when you decide, you convince yourself that, okay, I'm going to make this film, it's not letting me go, you have to then talk to other people. You have to get Rishi Kapoor on board. You have to get your financiers on board, your producers on board. What was that like?
So
you waited a long time.
No.
After Ra.One.
Yeah. But Mulk happened. I wrote it in the next 3 days. And I went out in the market to do the actors first. Money took a bit of time. And then I went and made it. It had become impossible to not make it.
What was that conversation with Rishi Kapoor ji about Mulk? When you went to him saying, I have this story, what did he say?
He heard it, he liked it, and he said, but इसमें तो हीरो ही नहीं है कोई. तो मैंने कहा आप हैं हीरो. Who will come to watch it in the theatres? I said, we'll see. I don't know, sir. Who will come? And I said, you are the hero, I'm the hero, Tapsi is the hero, script is the hero. Not necessarily in that order, but yeah. So we knew we were all doing something which may or may not was making any logical sense. But we made it. And we liked it and we stood by it and we released it. And I keep telling people, youngsters, that a successful film has the most vital parameter of film success is how long does it live? How long people talk to you about your work? That film. That is the most vital parameter of the success of a film. And people talk about Mulk. How many years we calculated? It was 7 years.
7 years.
7 years later, one small piddly film did 23 crores at the box office. Nothing, no great shakes. I mean, good. But such is the desired impact of art. It will make money for posterity. It will do whatever. It made its money that was invested to make that film. It said what it had to say, and it will continue to speak. Now that is the most rare outcome for a film, and I have been privileged to have 4, 5, 6 films. Starting my first one, Tumbin. Every week there are at least 5 compliments I would receive for
23 years, right? Tumbin?
24 years now.
24.
2001.
What is your advice to artists who are listening?
I'll tell you, when did I realize I wanted to be an artist? Just about 6, 7 years back. I was in Paris. I had just bought a camera and I was roaming around. I was alone and I went to the Louvre. And I started walking around. It wasn't too crowded. And I was reading about those paintings, huge, massive paintings. And I realized some of those paintings were made over 11 years, 13 years. And I said, wow, man.
Yeah.
A man decided, I will paint a woman's face
For 13 years.
for 13 years.
Yeah.
It was not his beloved. He had a face in his head that he wanted to paint. He had an emotion in his head. So every morning he would wake up and say, okay, I'll paint the right eyebrow. And by the end of the day, he wouldn't even finish the right eyebrow. That
And
must
he
be
would
the
have
speed,
done
right?
separate studies and separate sketches and separate color experiments before.
And that's the day I said, wow, the biggest thing you need as an artist is conviction in what you're wanting to do. It can take time, it can take money, it can take life. Take your life away from you. But if you believe it has to be made, it has to be made. Otherwise, you're aspiring to be an artist. You're not an artist.
When you watch your films now, are you able to really admire, or you're still thinking, I could have done that better?
Both. No, it could have been better. But, at the time it was done well. And sometimes I hate things. Like every director, I'm sure. Like every artist. Could have been better. This was very well done. But I don't really. Like I see 814, I haven't seen like...
Oh, you've not watched it?
As an audience, no. Because when you're releasing it, you're too close to it. You're watching it like 17 times a day. But then one day it so happens that you are doing nothing and you... So I've seen all my other stuff like that, but I see it's too close.
It's too close, still too close. What are you working on now?
I'm at any given point working on no less than 10 scripts.
So
I'm working on 10.
Anything closer to...
Yeah, I think I'm quite excited about one, and maybe I'll start it soon.
I wish you very, very good luck.
Thank you. I need all of it.
Thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Thank you for having me here.